الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وخاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيد الأولين والآخرين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. Please can we begin with Surah Al-Fatiha. It's the night of Ashura. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give shafa and forgive all of our sins on this night to all of mu'minin wa mu'min, all human beings. Surah Al-Fatiha, please. Please can we also recite salawat for all of the children, the young brother who gave a lecture, the youths who have done the marsiya, those who have answered my boring questions, but mashallah they've all participated, but not salawat for the parents that gave them the answer, just a salawat for the children. Please can we have a salawat, because I've seen mashallah a lot of children participate. Please salawat for them. Tonight will be essentially the last lecture, because tomorrow essentially will be Maqtal or Gambayan. And coincidentally, the topic I have chosen is about faith, or known in Islam as Iman. And yesterday we heard speeches from Khizr Khan and others that talked about that, we all have to be faithful Muslims and put our faith into action. This center, or as we have just heard from Jawad Bhai, is known as Iman Center, as it was named. So Iman means faith. But in Arabic, the name of Iman, faith, is actually different to the English meaning of faith. And the reason I want to pose this question is, what is the difference when we say faith in English and faith in Islam, or faith in Arabic? And especially when people say we all must be faithful, we all must give back to society and do our best. The question I want to pose is, do we actually understand what a faithful Muslim is? What is a faithful Muslim? How do you define a faithful Muslim? Anybody want to have a go? When you say that this person is a faithful Muslim, what's the most immediate thing that comes to you? Yes?
The praise to Allah.
Praise to Allah. Yeah, anybody else? Very good, yes?
Respect Allah.
Good, respects Allah, yes?
Follows the Islamic rules.
Follows the Islamic rules.
Is a good person.
Is a good person good? Anybody from the men?
Length of the beard.
Sorry?
Length of the beard.
Oh, length of the beard? I think that's a joke. That's Allama Iqbal said, is Islam in the beard, or beard in Islam, yes? Anybody, yes? Abbas?
Like this person, like this. It might be like he is very strong-minded or something.
Strong-minded, but for good things, yeah? Okay. Yes?
Submission to God.
Sorry? Submission to God. Okay, mashallah, very good answers, okay? And in some respects, those things are true, and it was just I was hedging my bet to see if those answers came up, and they did come up. 90% of the answers were talking about relationship to God, right? But when we look deeply in Islam and analyze what faith is, you might be very surprised as to how the Quran and how a hadith looks at a faithful Muslim. I want to start with a quote from the Prophet as it is reported, but it is reported in a Sunni source, Tariq al-Tabari, volume 19, page 77. It states, in relation to Karbala, what would you say if the Prophet asked you, what have you, the last of the religious communities, done with my offspring, my progeny, and my family after my departure, Rasulullah's departure? Among them are prisoners, that is Zainab, that is Sakina, that is Kulthum, Among them are prisoners, and among them are those who have been stained with blood. Tonight we're commemorating the death of our beloved Ali Asghar, which is very difficult to talk about. What reward is this for me, Rasulullah, after I have given you good advice, that you should repay me with evil to my blood relations? These are one of the last statements that is recorded in history about the incident of Karbala, which is, what exactly are we doing for the message of Rasulullah and what he stood for, which I have argued to be the Quran or the teachings of the Quran in these lectures. Tonight's lecture is a culmination of all of the last, if you like, 9-10 days, which is, we have talked about niyyah, trying to be a good Muslim, being on the straight path. We've talked about justice, but it all culminates in being a faithful Muslim. So if we do not understand what we mean by iman, what we mean by a mu'min, then we do not understand in our life how to behave and what to focus on. On the day of Ashura, Imam Hussein alayhi salam has a very important dua, and it is essentially a dua of iman. He is trying to talk up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about the difficulty he is facing and how he should remain as a faithful Muslim. He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma anta thiqati fi kulli karbin wa raja'i fi kulli shiddatin. Oh Allah, you are my trust in every difficulty or distress, and you are my hope in every difficulty, he says. At the end of the dua, he says, فَأَنْتَ وَلِيٌّ كُلِّ نِعْمَ وَمُنْتَهَا كُلِّ رَغْبَةٍ. For you are my guardian in every blessing and my ultimate or my end of every desire or hope. On the day of Ashura, the critical day where he is seeing bloodshed in front of him, where he is still having hope that by stretching out his beloved son Ali Asghar, who is crying, who is thirsty, that the enemy would have some soft heart and would give him water for his child. In that critical moment, he's asking Allah, give me hope, give me strength, that I may put my trust in you to make the right decisions on the day. And this is where some people say, well, why was Ali Asghar martyred? How could he be martyred? The way that we look at it is to say that Imam Hussein alayhi salam believed that some goodness, some faith, which I'm going to define, will come out of the enemy, that they would feel embarrassed, that they would still owe a sense of duty to Allah, or as one of the sisters said, be a good person and give water to that child. This was never the case. And instead of water being on the lips of Ali Asghar, his lips became full of blood. So you tell me, what kind of faith did the people of Yazid have? Many of them claim to be Muslims. And what faith did the people of Kufa have, claiming to be Muslims? And I ask you today, what faith do you and I have that we can earn the title of a faithful Muslim? Salawat. If you look at the Quran, the most oft-cited verses which are quoted are from Surah Al-Baqarah about faith, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the following: Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalika al-Kitabu la rayba fihi hudan lil muttaqin, alladhina yu'minuna bil ghaybi wa yuqimuna as-salata wa mimma razaqnahum yunfiqun, walladhina yu'minuna bima unzila ilayka wa ma unzila min qablik wa bil akhirati hum yuqinun. Salawat, please. Allah says, that book there is no doubt it is a guide for those who guard against evil, the muttaqi. But then we find an address to the believers, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Those who believe in the unseen, they perform their prayer and they spend out of what we have given to them, and they believe in that which was revealed to them, and they are sure of the akhirah. So the believers are people that pray, that was said in the answers. The believers are people that believe in a book. The believers are people that spend out of what Allah has given them, and they believe in the akhirah. Now, that criterion which you and I usually cite, and this is the criterion that we teach in madrasa, is actually not the complete understanding of faith in Islam. All the surah lists are certain duties or articles of faith. You can look at Iman in a few ways. The easiest way is to look at it as articles of faith. Aqa'id. They say, I am a Muslim because I believe that Allah is one, that He is just. I believe in Nabuwa, Imama and Qiyamah. Or Yawmul Ma'ad. I am a Muslim. I have faith in God. This is generally how we look at it. Or we look at it in duties. As sisters and brothers said, oh, the person who prays, the person who respects Allah, the person who is doing things for God, but more in terms of duties. But my humble submission tonight to you, using Quran and a Hadith, is this is a very narrow way that we have looked at faith. And that is why in some respects, Shia or Sunni, it doesn't matter. We have sometimes become too content with what is or what are the outward duties of Islam, not just ritual, even other practical kinds of duties like keeping promises and all that, rather than what is the inner meaning of faith. Yesterday, again, the speaker said that, look, we all have to come together to realize our potential. But how do I know my potential? How do I know if I'm a faithful Muslim if I don't understand faith itself? Salawat. The key verse in the Quran which makes now a distinction between Islam and faith, this is what a key distinction of Quran. In Surah number 49, verse 14, Allah says, the Bedouins say, we have faith. Now imagine we are the Bedouins, the Bedouin Arabs, okay, at that time. They say, we have faith, Rasulullah. We have Iman. Allah says, say, you don't have faith yet. You don't have faith yet. Rather say, Aslamna. We have submitted or we have embraced Islam. For faith has not entered into your hearts, in your qulub. Yet if you obey Allah and His Prophet, He will not diminishing any reward from you or from your works. Indeed, Allah is all forgiving and all merciful. Now here comes a very important distinction which is generally not made amongst Muslims, which is there is a distinction between Islam and Iman, or Muslim and Mu'min. Allah is trying to say to the Quran, in the Quran and to the Arabs, that you say that you have faith. No. Say you have something else. You can say you've embraced Islam. You can say you've embraced the articles of faith. You can say that I believe in God, you believe in God. But don't talk about faith. Don't say you have faith. Faith is something so deep, something so intrinsic, something that affects our whole mentality and the way we look at life, which affects us every minute of every day. That faith which Allah is saying, which was not there in the Arabs who are following Rasulullah, or some Arabs, was the faith of the heart. The faith, or that energy, that understanding, that inspiration which would transform their hearts. And here we have a clue. To be a faithful Muslim is to be able to transform your heart on a daily basis. If the heart is not transformed, whether by coming here, whether at home, whether through our prayer, whether in our family, then either there is something wrong in our understanding of what faith means, or our environment is not helping us transform our faith. Day of Ashura, or night of Ashura and day of Ashura, we would argue are days where the heart should be transformed. We say, Ya laytani kuntu ma'akum fafuza fawzan adima. I wish I had been with you, we say. I wish I had been with you, O Hussein. This is recommended to say on the day of Ashura. I wish I had been with you to achieve a great success. Why do we say that? Why is this recommended? Because we believe if we were with Hussein, our hearts would be transformed, that we would achieve a great success. So Hussein's stand was to achieve something. And that achievement was a great success in defending the morality of Islam, in instilling in people's hearts a love for Allah and a love for His message. Salawat. But let us go a bit deeper. The Quran is now making a distinction. You might ask, well, if Islam is all about submitting to God, then what is Iman? What does faith mean? I've said about transformation. According to the hadith of our eighth Imam, Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida alayhi salam, which is recorded or reported in Tafsir al-Qummi, he says, Iman huwa tasdiqu bil qalb. Iman or faith is affirmation of the heart. Tasdeeq in Arabic means you confirm or verify something. Like when somebody asks you, can you tell me, okay, what is the way to downtown Seattle? You verify and confirm for them. This is exactly the route. And once they accept that and verify it in themselves, yes, I think that brother is saying the right thing, not just his listening, is verifying it, then you can say that person has verified the route to downtown Seattle. So faith is not just, I believe in God, I verify it, I confirm it, I think about it, and verify it is true. It is true as opposed to something else. My faith in Allah or in Islam is different, let's say, to the faith in another religion. My faith in Islam is, let's say, different to the faith in Buddhism. My faith in Islam is different to my faith in society. So my faith in Islam requires verification, like verifying an experiment in science, verifying a procedure. I identify that it is correct through thinking. But he doesn't stop there. He says faith is also al-iqrar bil-lisan, which means you declare it by the tongue. So I feel it, but I say it, I show it. So when somebody asks you, what do you believe or who are you? I can proudly say, I am a Muslim and I understand what that means. He ends the hadith by saying, it is also al-amal bil-arkan. Amal bil-arkan means that action of the limbs. So my faith is not just what I feel in here and what I say in my tongue. It also means what I do with my hands and what I do with my legs. If my faith has not reached to the level of what I do with my hands and legs in following what Allah has said, or as we have been talking about, instituting justice, or as some initiatives have been mentioned like feeding homeless people or giving in charity or whatever it is, then we do not have complete faith. Our faith is at the level of heart and at the level of tongue, not at the level of action. If you look at the word faith, and I began with this question, it is different to the English definition of faith. And sometimes there is confusion here. Faith, iman, comes from amina ya'manu, or amnun, the verbal noun. Now, we translate iman as faith or belief, but there's a deeper meaning here. If you look at the root of iman, it means to be safe or secure. So when I say amina ya'manu, it means he was secure or felt safe. There is another root which is relevant, which is amuna ya'munu. Amuna ya'munu means to be faithful, reliable and trustworthy. So if I say I have a faith in Islam, what does that mean? Means I feel secure and safe in Allah, and I feel that Allah is some being that is reliable and trustworthy to follow. So there are two components of faith. I have to feel safe and secure in my religion. I have to feel it. I have to feel safe and secure in what Allah is saying. But I'm choosing God, or I'm choosing Islam over other things, because that thing which I'm holding on is reliable, is trustworthy. Today, I was invited to a house to give a majlis, and one important question was raised. And it's a question which is very common today, which was that, why should we say Allahu Akbar or Subhanallah when we see so much evil around the world? When there are hurricanes, and when there are floods, and when a lot of things are happening to the Rohingya Muslims and many other atrocities around the world, which is a very important question, and we must ask this question. The answer that I tried to give, because it's a big question, I said that the God that you want to believe is the God of limitation. You want to say that God should intervene in every single difficulty of human beings, of mankind. But God has created us with free will. And He created us with the best capability as human beings. وَكَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. He honored the children of Adam. He created the world with its own laws and mechanisms. And so if the God is intervening all the time, the human being would say, why is my God intervening? Why don't I have power? Why am I not the master of my destiny? Allah created me, so this is my decision. In fact, even when you force religion or force anything into someone, immediately the person rejects it and moves away. If the God is one that intervenes all the time, what's the worth in worshipping that God? God created us with so much decision-making power and free will that if you look at the world today, we own it. We own the world. That's the reality. Yes, we say Allah is Malik al-Mulk. He is the master of the kingdom, no doubt. But we are making decisions every single day that is affecting and shaping this world. Whether you look at climate change, whether you look at laws, foreign policy, anything that you look at. If we want to live in a world that is by us, we also have to look at the consequences of our actions. We must ask these questions, because I find a number of Muslims that feel very doubtful when they utter Allahu Akbar, because they do not know why they believe in that God. We must teach our children to have an understanding of Allah that is meaningful to them. Whether it means teaching them in the most simplest of ways. Allah is merciful to you because He gave you a mother and a father. Or He is merciful to you in other ways. If we start teaching that, we start to teach a child that is thinking about his or her faith. Salawat. In fact, in another hadith, the Prophet has said, Iman is ma'arifatullah and ma'arifatul Rasul, which is knowledge of Allah and His messengers. But let us take a further example, and this is at the time of Al-Baqir al-Islam. Maybe it will make things clearer. If we said that faith is something to think about and verify and put into practice, can you imagine what Al-Baqir alayhi salam faced? Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, the fifth Imam, existed at a time where the number of Muslim sects were increasing. We often talk about today that we are a society that is so multicultural, that is globalized. But actually, during the fifth Imam's time, do you know how many sects were starting to mushroom? You had the Khawarij, who still existed from time of Imam Ali. They were arguing with Al-Baqir, Al-Baqir, you are wrong. The Quran should be interpreted literally. You had the Murji'ah. The Murji'ah were people that did not want to follow the outer duties of Islam. They told Al-Baqir, Well, all you have to do is believe and not practice anything. What you think inside is enough. You don't have to show anything. You had the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila were a very rational kind of sect. And I could go on. Al-Baqir alayhi salam, as it is reported in Kitabul Irshad, had 4,000 narrators reporting from him. But these reporters and his students were from the Amma and the Khasa. The Amma means those who are non-Shia, the general body of Muslims. And the Khasa, the Shia people. Al-Baqir dealt with questions from Shias and non-Shias, from Muslims and non-Muslims, and from all sects about one question. Oh Al-Baqir, what do you define as Iman? And I've printed out some hadith just to share with you. They're very short, but it will make clear what Al-Baqir alayhi salam said. Majority of this hadith that I am saying to you, according to my humble research, are from reliable sources. They're from the earliest Shia sources narrated in the books of Sheikh At-Tusi and Sheikh As-Suduq, rahmatullahi alayh. And what did Al-Baqir alayhi salam say in one hadith? Very beautiful hadith. He said, Al-Iman iqrarun wa amal wal Islam iqrarun bila amal. Very beautiful hadith. He says that faith is declaration or recitation and action. But Islam, if you want to talk about Muslims, or Islam is reciting something, declaring something, but without any action. We must challenge ourselves to think, are we Muslims without any action, or mu'mineen, believers with recitation and action? Salawat. Two other hadith and then I'll end because I know you've been sitting for a long time. There is another beautiful hadith, one of my favorite ones. And he says, Innal imana yusharikul Islam wala yusharikuhul Islam. Innal iman ma waqara fi qulub al Islam alayhi al manakihu wal mawarith wa haqnu dima wal iman yashrukul Islam wal Islam la yashrukul iman. He says, faith partners Islam. Faith is a part of Islam. But Islam does not partner faith. What is faith about? Faith is about what is about the heart. It's a concern of the heart, something very deep in you. Islam concerns the laws of marriage, nikah, inheritance, and stopping bloodshed. That is what Islam is about. Islam will give you the fiqh. Okay? And that's why some people, if you're Muslims, and this is my experience sometimes, not all the time, if you recite the Quran incorrectly, God forbid you do so, you will be corrected immediately. Although, by the way, this wasn't the practice of Rasulullah or Imam. Whether you are leading namaz, whether you are a poor child reciting Quran and is making many mistakes, I feel sorry for them because, and maybe some of you went through the same, I was never given a chance to correct myself. Immediately, an elder in the community get angry. Say it like this, you're changing the meaning. So, is that Iman or is that Islam? And was that the right thing to do? In fact, I will give you a similar story about this, which is again narrated from authentic sources. One day, Imam alayhi salam heard a group of people making fun of Bilal. Now, as you know, Bilal, one of the greatest companions of Rasulullah, had problems pronouncing certain Arabic letters. Seen and sheen, right? So, the people were making fun of Bilal, saying, this Bilal is giving this adhan, but, he's not really a faithful Muslim because he can't pronounce some of the letters correctly. And so Imam Ali heard this and he responds to them. I wish I had the actual hadith that just came to our mind. So Imam Ali tells them that you people do not understand what Islam is. If you had spent so much time understanding your faith rather than criticizing the outward appearance of what is said, you would be better Muslims than Bilal. But Bilal is a better Muslim than you. And today, if you look, generally speaking, Muslims are taken by great recitation, by what is on the outward appearance. It is no secret that if a person comes in today with a huge turban and a huge beard, I'm sure that he will be given more respect to that person than me, for example, or any other person. A person that dressed meekly and simply, like Imam Ali, okay? Not that I am simple, but I'm giving an example that what is traditionally thought of as Islamic is not always Islamic. You know, I have so many ahadith which talk about faith. The 11th Imam used to tell his followers, when you come inside the masjid, don't sit in the same place. Or do not always sit at the front. Do not assume that you should sit in the front line of the jama'ah. That is hadith from Tuhaful Uqul. You can read them. Those hadith tell us that the 11th Imam was educating people that when they come in the gathering, think what is inside the heart first. Should I be sitting in this front row? Or should I be sitting somewhere else? Do I have to recite this? Or can I reflect? We have so many ahadith littered about how we should be faithful Muslims in practice, both in recitation, both in sitting, and also in conduct. Salawat. The hadith continues that Islam is about laws. Faith is a part of Islam, while Islam does not mean that it is a part of faith. It means that what we see on the outward appearance may not always reflect what is inside the heart. I gave you the example 2 majalises ago that we all might be driving different cars, and some of the cars may look very, very good, but inside the car is dirty, or inside the car has done a lot of miles and is a very old car. You don't know what is inside my car. You don't know what is inside my heart, and I don't know what is inside yours. And so the message of Hussein ibn al-Islam was always, are you going to transform your heart to give water to a thirsty child, or to give food to a homeless person, or to make an effort in the way we understand our beautiful prayer, or will we remain the same till the day of judgment? I want to end on a last example. And that is the example of the wilayah of Ali ibn Talib alayhi salam. When we call ourselves Shia, Shia literally means follower or aid, and we say we are the Shi'atun Ali, we are the followers of Ali, we do the wilayah of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, what does that actually mean? The traditional understanding of wilayah, which is correct, is that I believe Ali has authority and guardianship over me after the Prophet. That is what separates me from being, let's say, another type of Muslim. I am Shia because I believe Ali has authority, spiritual authority, intellectual authority, political authority over me and over my guidance. Okay? Now, and that is why we say, Ashhadu anna Ali waliullah. After the Prophet, Ashhadu anna Rasulullah, we say that I bear witness that Ali is the successor or the guardian after the Prophet. However, if you look at many other hadith, and I will end on this hadith, there is a broader understanding of wilayah. A broader understanding of wilayah. Okay? It is not just following or accepting Ali as the authority of the Prophet. In this hadith, which is reported by Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, one of the most famous narrators and companions of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam that we have. He reports from the 5th Imam and asks the 5th Imam the following question. He says, so the 5th Imam says, O Jabir, 5th Imam talks to Jabir, O Jabir, is it sufficient that one who embraces Shi'ism says our love is for the Ahlul Bayt? So, 5th Imam is posing his companion question, is it enough to say I love Ali? Because this is a common question. And the common answer is said that we have some kind of credit, on Day of Judgment. Because I love Ali, I will have some credit and some extra sawab, some extra interest in my account. So if I've done anything wrong, my love for Ali inshallah, will overtake all that. Allahu alam, inshallah, yes. But look at the answer of Al-Baqir al-Islam. He says, by Allah, our Shia are nothing except those who are conscious of God. That means they have taqwa, conscious of God, and they obey Him. And they, our Shia, are not known, O Jabir, except by the following traits. So what should a Shia of Ali have? O Jabir, they are known by being humble, they have a respect for God, they fulfill their trusts, they remember God a lot, they fast, they pray, they are righteous to their parents, they fulfill their commitments to their neighbors who are from the poor people, the destitute, those in debt, and orphans. That means they fulfill their duties to their neighbors who might be many different types of neighbors, orphans, widows, etc. The Shia are truthful in what they speak. They recite the Quran. The Shia should be reciting the Quran. And they refrain their tongues from speaking about people except that which is good, so they don't backbite. And the Shia are the most trustworthy of their tribes in all things. That is the definition of a Shia. That is the definition of a faithful Shia Muslim. And the reason I have shared this with you is because if today we are not fulfilling all of these duties, do I engage with my neighbors? Probably not as much as I should have. Do I give enough to poor? Maybe not as much as I should have. Am I always thinking about Allah? I think I should be thinking more of Allah. Do I backbite? At times I may backbite. So if I am not even fulfilling all of these things, how can I say that I love the Ahlul Bayt? How can I say that I am really a Shia of Ali? The Shia of Ali, the Shia of Hussein, whatever religion they came from, were the people who did all of these things. And if you notice in the language of the hadith, there is no mention that Muslim comes first. It is general neighbors, whether here, whether anywhere. And so, maybe the challenge for us today is to move beyond the wilaya of Ali just as authority to the wilaya of Ali in terms of faith in action. Tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, it is difficult for me to speak, and I don't know if I can, about the tragedy and the death of our beloved Ali Asghar. Can you please dim the lights? Ali Asghar, as it is reported, was only 6 months when he was martyred. 6 months old. How many of us have newborn babies? How many of us have children that have grown up beyond 6 months? 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. We are very lucky to see our children grow up. Our beloved Hussein was not lucky. Our beloved Hussein could not see the beautiful Ali Asghar grow up to kiss his forehead like Abbas would kiss Hussein's forehead. Instead, Hussein had to kiss the forehead of Ali Asghar that was drenched in blood. Tell me, when you kiss a newborn baby or a young baby, the smell of the baby, the smell of the head of a baby is like the smell of Jannah. But when Hussein went to kiss Ali Asghar, his lips came back full of blood. Can you and I imagine what Hussein has gone through tonight? Can you and I imagine that we would sacrifice our children in this way? On the day of Ashura, Bibi Rabbab Salamullahi alayha and Kulthum and Lady Zainab all say to Hussein, "O Hussein, can you not hear the deafening cries of Ali Asghar? How long will we be without water? I do not have any water to give my child, O Hussein, Hussein, please go and ask the enemy that they may give water to this thirsty child. Hussein says, O Rabab, if I go to the camp of Yazid, they may kill me. Rabab says, no, go with the child in your hands. At least let them see Ali Asghar. Let them see the beautiful face of our baby. Surely they will not harm this child. Surely one of them will come forward and give him a glass or a sip of water. Hussein says, my Rabab, I will go to the camp of Yazid and I will beg for water for our child. Hussein goes towards the camp of Umar ibn Sa'd. It is hot. The sand is there. The heat is burning down on the forehead of Ali Asghar. Hussein goes forward. The enemies see that Hussein has something in his hand. The soldiers talk to each other. What is Hussein carrying? Is it a weapon? Is it a sword? Is it a dagger? Has he come to kill us? Hussein goes forward with Ali Asghar. Now they see that it is a baby. A baby that is so small. A baby that cannot fight for itself. A baby that is white as the moon. Ali Asghar now is crying on the chest of Hussein. Remember that Hussein heard the cries of Qasim when Qasim fell. He heard the cries of Ud and Muhammad when they fell. He heard the cries of Ali Akbar when Ali Akbar fell, and they all said, my father, O Abu, O my uncle, come to my aid and quench my thirst. Tell me, did Hussein know that his child would be struck like his other children would be struck? Hussein now goes forward and the soldiers are hesitating. Umar ibn Asad gives the order to Harmala and he says, oh Harmala, don't you see that this is the chance to kill off Hussein? Go and get your bow and arrow ready. But Harmala is a coward. He hides behind a tree. He now gets his bow and arrow ready. As he strikes his arrow, the arrow flies towards Hussein. Hussein sees the arrow come to him, but he doesn't know that this arrow is for his son Ali Asghar. It is reported, my brothers and sisters, that the arrow went through Ali Asghar's small neck, that the arrow went through the other side. The arrow went through. Hussein was holding Ali Asghar. The arrow went through and tore the neck of Ali Asghar. The neck of a baby is small. Tell me, how much blood would be gushing in Hussein's arms? Ali Asghar was now there in front of Hussein. Ali Asghar's eyes were looking at Hussein. His tongue was out because he was expecting that his thirst would be quenched. Hussein looks at Ali Asghar. He cannot believe that his child has been martyred. He holds up Ali Asghar to the heavens. He says, Ya Allah, Ya Allah, give me strength. Allahumma anta thiqati fi kulli karbin, he says. Oh Allah, indeed you are my trust in every distress, he says. Hussein cannot bear this tragedy. We say that he is an imam. I tell you, he is a human being first. Tell me, which prophet and imam would bear this tragedy? Hussein raises his hand. As he raises his hand, the blood of Ali Asghar is dripping down his arms. As he holds up Ali Asghar, Zainab and Sakina see that what is Hussein holding up. Zainab rushes out of the tent. Sakina rushes out of the tent. But Sakina, the sister of Ali Asghar, is the first one to go to Hussein. She says, my father, are you holding up Ali Asghar because he has been quenched? Sakina goes near and all she sees is the blood of Ali Asghar. Sakina faints and collapses. She doesn't know what to do. Now Zainab comes out. She takes Ali Asghar and she says, "Oh Hussein, what have the enemy done to Ali Asghar? Oh Hussein, how could they strike an arrow to the beautiful face of Ali Asghar? Oh Hussein, curse them all. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." Oh Allah, give us the strength to bear this tragedy, oh Allah. Please protect our children, oh Allah. When the time comes, please may our children follow the footsteps of Hussein. ربنا لا تجعلنا مع قوم الظالمين. ماتم الحسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين.